Hello and welcome back to the Panni webinar and webcast series on the cannabis industry and use of Sage X3 to streamline and control business processes for companies operating in the cannabis sector. This is the second webinar in the series and an introduction to the B300 reporting capabilities for your cannabis solution for Sage X3. So, a bit about me. I'm James Hurin, Senior Finance Consultant. I have 20 years experience in finance and accounting at the C-level. Prior to Panni, I was Director of Finance with a NASDAQ-listed cannabis company, High Tide Inc. I was integral in the success of the IPO, rapid growth of the group, and championed the Sage X3 implementation. The agenda for today. First of all, we will look at a brief overview of the cannabis industry in Canada. Next, we will walk through the requirements of the Form B300 from Canada Revenue Agency and take a look at the complexities and reporting requirements. Following that, I will demonstrate Panni's B300 module for Sage X3. You'll be able to see how this module allows you to file the B300 reporting requirements very easily and efficiently with just a few clicks. In closing, we will look at Panni's Sage X3 solution for the cannabis industry, which are tailored to companies at many levels. Finally, we'll look at a question and answer segment that will answer some of the common questions that we received on Form B300 in Sage X3. A little bit about the company. Paddy Management is an ERP and business transformation consulting firm that has helped companies streamline their processes and increase their bottom line for over a decade. We're a Sage Gold partner and specialize in Sage X3, the gold standard for small and medium-sized businesses. The industries that we've served range from food and beverage to cannabis, chemicals, to general manufacturing and distribution. As mentioned, for over a decade, we at Panni have developed technology solutions for many industries, and a great example is the food and beverage industry. Sage X3 has built and delivered a gold standard for the food and beverage industry, and this translates easily to the cannabis industry. In this webcast series, we're presenting and will show an array of features and modules built right into Sage X3 that offer conveniences and time savings that translate into operational efficiencies. In Canada, the Cannabis Act and its regulations provide a complete listing and framework. This allows companies to have legal access to cannabis by controlling and regulating production, distribution, and commercialization. The oversight of the cannabis supply chain is a shared responsibility. There are many federal, provincial, and territorial departments that are involved in this oversight. So the CTLS and B300 reports, those are governed by two federal departments, Health Canada and Canada Revenue Agency. They're quite separate, but we have some commonality between the reports, and there's overlap. Choice of an ERP. This can have dramatic effects on the use of corporate resources and business processes. Implementing the right and robust end-to-end ERP system that automates and streamlines critical business functions, for example, accounting, manufacturing, quality control, to name a few. This is imperative for accurate and timely reporting. In our experience, we've come across many companies. They've got separate systems for inventory movement and valuation. So for example, companies are using ample and elevated signals for inventory movement. Then they move on and they record those transactions in such systems as QuickBooks and Sage 50. We've also come across companies using separate spreadsheets to calculate duties and taxes, which is a complex and time-consuming reporting process. Dramatic improvements can be realized, as mentioned, where the business processes are connected in a single system. The B300 module allows for completion of the report in just a few clicks, which is a huge time savings. The B300 is applicable to many companies involved in the cannabis industry, license holders such as cultivators, producers, companies involved in packaging, distributors, and retailers. So information must be made available on how cannabis is managed within the supply chain. These companies need to obtain separately a cannabis license under the Excise Act, and they must submit returns on inventories and sales and duties payable to CRA on a monthly basis. Form B300 reporting complexities. So let's talk about Form B300 and the module for Sage X3. With the B300 module by Panni, companies can realize large reductions in reporting effort and timely submission of reports as mentioned. This will allow for this time saved to be spent in other value-added areas of the business. We've built this solution right inside of Sage X3 for cannabis companies. This is available as an add-on module or for existing Sage X3 deployments. Form B300 is required to be submitted to CRA prior to the end of the month. Interpreting and maintaining compliance with EDN 55, for an example, that's for dried flower, and EDN 60, an example there would be edibles. Excise tax calculation on these products is quite complex. Form B300 contains details of packaged and unpackaged inventory, and total sales and duties payable by province must be contained within the form. Form B300 requires compiling and interpreting complex operational accounting information. You can imagine changes in the operational requirements or the way the operations are set up in a business. These are required to be contained within Form 300 in order to perform accurate filing. Any changes in operational business processes may impact compiling and timely submission of this data. The submission process. Industry participants have two options to submit the form. One of the options is a manual entry into a web form. The other option is a paper form of Form B300. This is the Cannabis Duty and Information Return. Paper forms must be submitted to CRA and conform exactly with the specifications prescribed by the system. Form 300 has 8 identifiable sections. This tracks cannabis types, production flows, and specific business data. So you can see some examples here, unpackaged and packaged, as we discussed a bit, excise stamps, cannabis extracts, to name a few. So what this results in on Form B300 is sales and duties payable. Each section is presented in a tabular form. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and take a look at the time savings and conveniences that are available with the B300 module for Sage X3. So I'm just going to go ahead and sign into Sage X3. And what you'll see immediately as we get into Sage X3 is the landing page. So this is everything associated with your B300 module. As it loads up here, you can see you have some information at the top, which is process, the business process, and setup. We'll start off with the setup today. We'll come back to that in just a second. Let's take a look at the queries. So these are reports that have been run in the past. You have delivery details. These are transactions. These would take you directly into these transactions so you could review the detail in the information. The THC associated with each product, and some cannabis that was destroyed in connection with Health Canada regulations. So starting off, let's go ahead and look at the setup of the B300 and some of the components that fit into the report. So starting off on the right-hand side here, let's go ahead and click on product category. So product category is a grouping of products, so they have a lot of similar and common characteristics. The great thing about the common characteristics is with an addition of a new product, you can add it in a matter of minutes. Just with a couple of clicks, you're going to be able to group it based on those characteristics. So let's go ahead and look at that on the B300 tab on the right-hand side. You can easily access the way that it's categorized based on the product type. You can see packaged and unpackaged inventory here. So we have the class, which are the different areas, the dried flower, for example, and some of the processed cannabis. So there are retail units. These are like cases or packages. What you're interested in is the individual saleable unit. So that is the reason for the conversion rate. We break the package down into the individual retail units. The excise tax, as we'll see in a minute, there is a presentation of excise tax stamps. So this tax identifier is the type of cannabis, and the excise stamp is based on the jurisdiction. We'll see that in just a minute, as I say. So the stamp inventory requirement is to have an inventory of your excise stamps, and we're going to see that in the B300 report. The next area of setup is product. So let's go ahead and click on this. This is your quick link. So products are set up to connect with Form B300. This is a core level of Sage X3 that connects all of the processes and product movements throughout the system, be it your manufacturing process, your sales and deliveries. So it's all connected. It makes it really flow well and provides a lot of convenience to users. So just like product category, we're going to go ahead and click on B300. Moving down to this area, the way it connects with Form B300 in the module is the excise tax identifiers. So this is again in connection with the categories, as we saw a moment ago. There are the different types of cannabis, excise stamp by jurisdiction, and the inventory, the flags on the stamps themselves. So moving back to the home page, BOM code setup. So what this is, if we select a site here, an example would be you have a sorting BOM. So the bill of materials is sorted. It's not produced. There is no cannabis consumed or created in the process. You don't want to have any double counting within your process. So this allows that duplication not to be a factor in the creation of your Form B300. Miscellaneous issue group setup. So what this is, these are adjustments that are needed within your production process. So what would that entail? So drying or shrinkage due to your processing, quantities that were destroyed in connection with the regulations of Health Canada, sent out for analysis, and other categories. These adjustments can be made with relative ease, and it directly connects with your Form B300. Excise tax rates. So these are the rates per jurisdiction for each of the different types of cannabis. So in this case, you can see your EDN 60, which an example of that, a type of cannabis that would be connected with EDN 60 is dried flower. EDN 55, an example of that would be like a topical or an edible. So all of the rates are presented here to the users, and these are configurable items. So these are the percentages that play into the way sales tax and duties payable are calculated. So let's say we have an update from Canada Revenue Agency. This can be changed within a minimal amount of time. You're just going to hit save and it'll be ready for you. So moving along, let's take a look at the B300 module itself and the interface. Starting off, let's take a look at sales deliveries. So these are delivery transactions. So sold units that are going to go out to your customers. So what we see here is if we go down to the lines, in connection with the way the products are set up, we mentioned earlier that this was a core level of the system and it's built right into Sage X3. A lot of convenience there for the users. This is where the excise tax flag is turned on. You can see it here. The THC quantity, the actual THC quantity in milligrams. This is how the sales tax and duties payable is calculated. And further along here, you have the individual components. These are the factors that play into the way that they're calculated within Form B300. You also have THC details. So up in the top right here, if we just click on this, these are all the details that pertain to the way that THC quantities are entered and they become realized in sales taxes and duties payable. So you can see as I scroll along to the right here, I can refer to any one of the components within Form B300. You can see that information on its own. So let's take a look at Form B300 itself. Within the module, this is the report. So immediately what you can see is a column on the left-hand side here. So what this is previous reports that have been created by time period. So these are by months. Earlier in the presentation, if you recall, we said there were 8 identifiable sections of Form B300. So they're all here for you. If we just run through them, unpackaged inventory. So you have your opening inventory, production. You can see this is like a continuity. So quantity packaged, delivered, exported, just to name a few. So you come down to closing inventory. So moving along through the categories, you have packaged inventory, excise stamps. So this is the inventory that's required by Health Canada and CRA. So they like to see that you're keeping your inventories and it's available within the form. You also have edibles, topicals, to name a few. And this results in sales, tax, and duties payable. So this is what results and is realized by the company. So if we wanted to run one of these reports, let's say we wanted to run it for January. I'm going to show you how convenient and quick this is and how it connects with other areas of the ERP. Your information is going to refresh quite quickly. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete this record. Then we're going to go ahead and create January. So we select the site, the year, month, and we're going to select refresh data in the top right-hand side. Yes, we want to refresh the data. So it's just thinking and bringing in the information. And we want to go ahead and click create. So you can see, you can count the clicks. It's maybe 5 clicks in total. We hit refresh, and you can see it here on the sorted left-hand side. This is January 2021. We've just created it. Once we're good with the information that's presented here, all we do is we hit month-end close. You see the status here is open. We're going to go ahead and hit month-end close. So now the status is closed. This is ready to report with Canada Revenue Agency. So you'll log into their secure portal, and one of the 2 methods that are available is manual entry to the web form, or you can use the paper form B300. So that is the process. Now a scenario. We need an adjustment to be done in January. So we need to reopen Form B300, make the adjustment, and then we're going to close it, and then we're going to report it. So what we need to do is go back to the landing page. You're going to go to reopen. This is in your process map here. Very easily done. We're just going to select the site, the year, the month, and you can see the status is closed. When I click OK, it's going to go open. Navigating back to the report, we can see that January status, 2021, period number 1, is now in open status. So in our scenario, we needed an adjustment. So this would be an area we need to adjust our excise stamps. So if we go to line number 5, stamps received, this was actually 40,000. So we just want to click on this right-hand button here, the action button. Before we make the adjustment, we want to review the details of these transactions. So you can see these are the line items that make up that 45,000 in excise stamps. So we want that to say 40,000 based on some information we've got from our operations and our counts. So we go to CRA stock modification. And you can see here, your original value is 45,000. We want that to say 40,000. Then we provide a comment. And click OK. Your form is updated here. You can see it now says 40,000 stamps received. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to click Save. This will create a new version. So this version is ready to go. All we need to do is once the adjustments are in and we've approved all of the information, we hit month-end close, and the status is now closed. You would go through the process again to log into the secure portal with Canada Revenue Agency and either choose the manual entry into the web form or use Form B300, the paper method. To summarize, the B300 reporting module for Sage X3 automates calculation of excise duties and sales taxes payable when selling products, creates the B300 report in minimal time with just a few clicks. Reporting is managed by period, including the ability to create versions with just a couple clicks. Full traceability of each item is available for audit purposes, saving you a lot of time and effort in audit. The B300 reporting module is available for existing deployments of Sage X3 and new deployments of Sage X3. In existing deployments, this can be added on easily. Pricing is available on monthly and yearly subscription basis. In more complex operations, pricing is per facility. There is unlimited support available in both existing and new deployments. And now for some frequently asked questions on the B300 module for Sage X3. How is the product licensed? Well, this is dependent on the complexity of the business. If there are multiple facilities, then this is how the fees for the licenses will be required. For example, if you have 2 facilities that are extracting cannabis, then 2 licenses will be needed. How quick is it to deploy this product? The B300 module can be deployed within hours, and you can begin reporting. Can I deploy Panni's B300 solution after going live with Sage X3? Yes, you definitely can. You can deploy the module at any time. The B300 module for Sage X3 can also provide reporting for the months prior to deployment. Can the module automatically calculate excise duty for packaged finished goods based on THC percentage in the bulk finished goods? Yes, it can definitely cover this area. What sort of support is available with Panni's B300 module on an ongoing basis? Continuous support is provided within the licensing fee. Support will be there for each month's filing with CRA. If your business process changes and you require additional configuration, this is covered within the fees. Is the B300 module compliant with EDN 55 and EDN 60? Definitely compliant with both EDN 55 and EDN 60. The module can be easily updated for future relevant notices. Important to note that earlier in the presentation, the percentages were available to be easily referenced that corresponded with each jurisdiction. These can be easily updated as configurable items. In conclusion, Panni has built in essential modules for the cannabis extraction and retail businesses in Sage X3 in existing and new deployments of Sage X3 to get you up and running in minimal time with no effort at all. You can watch other modules like CTLS reporting and enhanced product recall on our website. These work seamlessly inside Sage X3. We would love to hear from you. Feel free to contact us at the number noted on the screen. Thank you for your time today.